The Hatchcast is brought to you by the Burgess Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. The Burgess Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation empowers students to learn through action by providing campus-wide programs, courses, and resources to test ideas, foster an entrepreneurial mindset, develop empathy, and create new ventures. Learn more at eship.msu.edu.
Rebooted in 2014, TEDx MSU is a collaboration between Michigan State University students, alumni, faculty, and friends, as well as the larger East Lansing community. Dedicated to ideas worth spreading, TEDx MSU's conference features interdisciplinary presenters expressing their past experiences, current projects, and future visions to promote inquiry and critical discussion. Hosted by a committed team of undergraduate students, their hope is to create opportunities for our attendees to enjoy the TEDx MSU experience. Stay connected with TEDx MSU by following them on Instagram and Facebook at TEDx MSU, or go to tedxmsu.org to learn more.
Our guest here this evening, Rob Smith, coming to us from New York City, a really accomplished entrepreneur, philanthropist, change agent. Really excited for him to share his story with all of you, and again, giving up a couple days of his time to spend with us here at Michigan State. So if you can join me in thanking Rob Smith and welcoming here to Innovate State.
Thank you. I think I can talk in this. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Yeah. Well, thank everybody for having me here. I just want to start off by saying that my friends who I went to university with, and I told them I was invited back to speak, they all laughed collectively, thought it was very funny because I wasn't the best student. And the fact that I'm back here speaking is it's an incredible honor. So, and I thank everybody for showing up today. So I'm going to talk about the Phluid Project, which is a brand that I created. First of all, so there's a lot in the name. I've done this deck before, so I'll try and go through pretty fast because I want to make sure there's time for question and answer. But fluid itself is the ability to navigate between two spaces, almost easily like water. And the pH in front of it stands for balance. And the balance within us, each of us, when we find that balance, that harmony, we can function better as humans and a society in the project because we're working together to make something better. You can't do it by yourself, working with other people to improve it. So that is the Phluid Project. And me. So my name's Rob. I use he, they pronouns. Part of what we're talking about is deconstructing constructs, and that's what Fluid's about. So a little about that. Yeah. So I start off with who I am as a person first. I think sometimes we tend to just talk about our professions, but I think it's always good to talk about our humanity first. So I'm a husband, an entrepreneur, human rights activist, a mentor, founder of the Phluid Project, and now Get Phluid and the Phluid Foundation. Spent 30 years in traditional roles, 22 years at Macy's, then Victoria's Secret, and then I went on to Levi's and Nike as the Chief Product Officer for kids globally. And I spend my time working with nonprofits, and I'm right now also on the board of Steve Madden, leading the CSR initiative. And so Phluid, start off first with the mission statement. Our mission statement is to challenge boundaries with humanity. So we look at everything and we say, why is it this way? And just because it's always been that way doesn't mean it has to be that way. So we challenge everything by do with humanity. And I built these values, and they're the pillars of what Phluid is and what we stand for. So it's acceptance, balance, integrity, intention, openness, and fearlessness. And I use these and look at them every day. They're the names of the scent collection that I created, which is at Sephora, will be at Nordstrom and Urban Outfitters. But each of the names of the scents is the name of the values. So I get to look at them every day and start my day with intention or integrity or wherever I feel like I'm starting my day. Phluid launched as the world's first gender-free store 4 years ago in Soho, New York, at 3,000 square feet, and was this incredible space that was 2/3 was retail. So people got to shop without gender for the first time ever. And then the other third of the space was a community space. It was bleacher seating, and we had 250 events in 2 years. It was coming together as fashion, panels, conversations, comedy night. There was 4 things going on every week, and it was a blast. And really the community started to come together, both physically and virtually too through social media. And within a couple of years, without paying for anything, Phluid's almost at 100,000 followers, which is just brand zealots across the world. 50% are outside of the United States, which is pretty cool. That's become this global brand. So why do we exist? Because almost 90% of Gen Zers shop across gender lines, that it's already like normalized. I think y'all, like I was in the school shop today on Grand River, right? Yeah. And it was like basically the entire thing was all gender except for one section that was girls, and I like to say was more feminine expressive product than women's product, but it's however you want to look at it. But it was basically the whole store was all gender, and I just love the fact that the school is like set up that way, the shopping for the product. It's just, I don't have to tell you about Gen Z, you are Gen Z. So this is how we show up, which is wholesale licensing, e-commerce to the direct consumer business, partnerships, corporations, education and training, and then community. So this is how Phluid showed up last year across the board. So last year Phluid went from 1 store down to 0 stores. Last year was in 5,000 stores across the country, and this year will be in 8,000 stores across the country and launching globally. So Phluid will be from every Myers store to every Saks store. So, and everywhere in between, every Kohl's store, every Target, BJ's. So the brand just kind of like took off, and in a really surprising and fun way, between apparel, accessories, and fragrances. And next year launching kids, swimwear, intimate apparel. So lots of different categories. And Phluid is just going to keep expanding. And if you know retail, there's the Phluid Project, which is at regular price. And then I created PH by the Phluid Project to be the diffusion line. And there's a white label, and I'll create a black label for collaborations or partnerships. So just letting it grow this way and this way. And this is how I create product. I created an acronym called RISE. So I create product, first of all, with responsibility. So people use the word sustainability. I think it's more important to be responsible, like not just how you make it, but where you make it, who makes it, and understanding that it might cost a little bit more upfront, but you're doing the right thing. Inclusion, so both inclusive in size and price point. That's why I want to be a Target, because I want access to the product everywhere. I want it at an opening price point, but also at a better price point, and also sizing go up to 4XL, 5XL. Oh, and solutions. So we listen to the customer, especially folks who have, challenges when they put clothes on, no matter how they identify. Like, what are the pain points when you're shopping that, things don't fit here, or, there's certain times like, some people wear binders and have wider straps. So we designed to like accommodate a wider strap and binders. And creating a swimwear line is super interesting, especially with tucking and binding and all these other things that people go through. And how do you create it so it's universal, but also takes care of, challenges that people face when they put on a swimsuit or undergarments. And then expressive. So we're not color. So many people did gender neutral before, but it was like a colorless, shapeless, boxy piece of clothing that nobody looked good in. And so we decided to go in with like expressive language, expressive bodies, expressive colors. And the Phluid customer wants to get noticed, wants people to know what their social statement is about social justice. A good example is that product from Trans Rights or Human Rights. That was Target's. The first time we get into Target is the first time an actual LGBTQ brand was in the Pride assortment, and shipped 1,900 stores, and that was their best seller, sold out in 3 weeks in all 1,900 stores, which is pretty incredible. So it just shows that there is a need and a desire for young people all people to express their feelings around social justice. Let's see, we do a lot of collaborations. It was pretty fun. Like one day, the store was open for about a year, and I got an email from HBO that said, hey, we're launching a new television show called Euphoria. Do you want to join us? We're going to do a Airstream, and we think you'd be a great partner. Like, yeah, that sounds cool. That was fun. So we traveled with them up and down the West Coast. And yeah, just like every time somebody would do something, they reached out to Phluid. When Mattel launched their gender neutral toy line, they reached out to Phluid and had that opening at Phluid. So it was just really fun. Like, it still happens all the time. There's so much going on right now. What we're creating. I'm creating Phluid City right now in the metaverse, which will launch in June, which is going to be a very cool experience, and creating a television show too right now, which is in the works. These are some of the brands we work with, and this is inclusion. So I sat around just sitting in the store and was learning so much. I started speaking around, actually going to Dubai and Sao Paulo and all these places and speaking. And I realized that what I was saying was the first time a lot of adults were learning about a gender expansive and gender expressive group of people and the language that goes along with it. So I created Get Fluid. It was gender expansive training, and hired folks of trans experience to create the program to teach it. And I think right now we have about 40 companies already signed up this year, from LVMH to Papa John's and everywhere in between. So it's great to be able to go in and educate companies. So we don't allow the brand to just be a performative brand and showing up and making a company look good. You have to do the work to do business with Phluid. And so I make people first I start off and say why they're doing this, and why and for who, before they do for the how. And once we do the first two, then we can do the how. Because sometimes people just want to jump into it. Let's start marketing, let's start doing this. I'm like, we have to do that thoughtfully. And I think the integrity that Phluid comes with brings, and the work that people have to do to participate with the brand shows that we have integrity and authenticity, and I don't want to lose that. So that means a lot of times saying no to people. One want the money really badly, but saying no to certain businesses just to keep the integrity. Some of our trainers, all racially and gender diverse, all of trans experience. And then finally, I launched the Phluid Foundation this year. So a lot of what I want to do is also give back. I take from the community to help support them, but also give back. So I started raising money last year. Every speaking gig I did, I put into the foundation and got money and raised about $150,000 last year. And the money goes to grassroots organizations across the country that support especially trans-led organizations and homeless queer youth, and each city across the country. So right now I'm raising a lot of money, pushing into Florida and Texas to help them out, and Alabama and other states where there's a lot of anti-trans legislation happening in many states. So helping out the organizations at the grassroots level, especially BIPOC-led organizations. So that's it. Yeah, the goal this year is to raise $1 million. I'm halfway there. So my goal is to raise $1 million, and I'm keep putting out there in the universe that it's going to happen. And I can't wait to just start giving away checks. And a lot of times companies or organizations ask for grants, and to write a grant is a really hard process, but I just do gifts instead and don't ask for anything other than just know you're going to, when you get the money, you're going to know how to spend it, because they run on really lean teams. And so that's it. That's a nutshell of the Phluid. All right. Thanks. Let's do questions. Yeah. Come on in, everybody. So by the way, I have, if anybody wants, I'm going to put a bunch of stickers outside. If you want some stickers, I Phluid stickers. I'll also put my business card on me if anybody has any questions afterwards, just in case anybody's leaving early. All right, let's do some Q&A.
Let's do some Q&A.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can everybody hear us all right? Yeah, we're good. Okay, good. So
These are the stickers. They look great.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to pass those around?
Yeah, let's do that.
Just throw them out like
My
confetti.
feelings won't be hurt if you don't take one.
Yeah, yeah.
Here you go. They're special edition.
I've never seen a guest do this much work.
Really?
Like, usually it's just you come up and you have a conversation with, but this was like really putting in some effort. And
Thank you.
I love that. Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. I mean, well, listen, you showed up. I was like, whenever people show up, like whether I'm teaching a company or something like this, that I realize that everybody here came here, they had other things to do, other things you could do, but you chose to come here, and it's always surprising that people show up to hear me talk. So I'm like, at least I can put a little effort in if you show up to put a little effort in, so thank you.
So where did you grow up?
Right here.
Right. Okay, so give it a...
Grosse Pointe, yeah. Grosse Pointe. So I was born in Detroit and then grew up in Grosse Pointe.
Okay. So my question to you is, what was growing up in Grosse Pointe like?
Exactly what you think it would be like. Yeah.
Fill me
Yeah.
in. I'm really curious.
I mean, it was really white, and it was, I never felt like I fit in there at all. From the minute we moved from Detroit and I was a little kid, I always felt like an outcast. And a lot of it was like my family. My dad was a Pittsburgh Steeler, and then went into the automotive industry. And my brothers love sports, and I didn't love sports. And I felt I couldn't find my groove at all until high school, and then I went to work at the Punch and Judy Theater. And they showed foreign films every week, so it was a different foreign film. So in between movies, I would go, I would study, and I would watch the movie, and I'd learn about the world. And then they also did the Rocky Horror Picture Show at midnight. So then I started to get to know really cool, interesting people. And so by the end of my time there was not really hanging out with Grosse Pointers, but hanging out with people who didn't live in Grosse Pointe, mostly other areas. So it was a pretty cool experience at that point.
It feels like theater is sort of catnip for the LGBTQ community.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's where you can be yourself.
Yeah.
And sort of find out who you are.
Yeah. Yep.
What was that journey of discovery like for you?
Well, these are personal questions, but I like them. It was my first boyfriend when I was 15. I secretly dated. We would take our girlfriends out or for events and then go back and make out. It was so weird. But I realized people were starting to catch on, the gay vibe. So I totally moved away from that and leaned heavily into a toxic masculine space at school just to protect myself. And I didn't fully come out until after college.
Interesting.
Yeah, I shoved that way inside. I was a fraternity guy. I was president of the fraternity council. So it was kind of that was no space for that back then. There was zero.
No.
Yeah.
I graduated high school in '95. Yes, I just admitted my age, and nobody quote me on that. It's going to be edited from the film. But I grew up in rural Michigan.
Uh-huh.
And I did not come out until I was in college. And so coming out in college was an incredible and exhilarating experience, but there would have been no way for me to do it in the community from whence I came. And so I think for anybody to go through a journey and feel like they can't be themselves, and then they find a way to be themselves, is a really important journey.
Yep, it is. And that's a large part of what Phluid is. So I wanted to create a space that everybody belonged, that everybody, regardless of your gender or your race or your body size, your ability or your age, that there was a place for you at Phluid, and celebrating everybody's uniqueness. And actually, the more unique you are, the more special you are. And to pull that out and find a space for every single person, and celebrate that part that we don't feel the part that we hid for so long, but to pull it out, and not just pull it out, but lift it up and celebrate it.
I also am very, very much aware of my own privilege in this moment, because as a cisgender, gay, white man, I have very different boxes of ticking than others. And so there's a privilege that comes with that. What does privilege look like to you, and how do you use it to help people?
Yeah, privilege to me is, I passed as a straight guy in corporate America, and I did my best to deepen my throat and deepen my voice and dress the part, and wear painfully unattractive gray suits, and bad ties for a while, until one day I said, fuck it, no way. And I just refused to wear a blazer. I would only wear vests, and I started putting makeup on and piercing my ears. And I was like, this is who you got now. And then they accepted it. They were like, I was just good at my job, and they accepted it. And I kept pushing harder and harder, and they just kept letting me be me, and it was amazing. And I think so what was the question?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, okay, good. I figured we were talking
what
about...
was my question? Does anybody know?
What does privilege look like?
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
So privilege to me is that I got to the place where I am right now. I'll be 57 this year, and that I have done pretty well financially. And so my privilege was okay, under the LGBTQIA plus umbrella, how do I take what I've gained opportunity with, and how do I use my influence in corporations, my influence with my friends, and how do I use that to break into money and take that money and push it back into the community, especially into the Black and brown community, Indigenous community, especially into the trans community. And that's what privilege is to me, is that not just my money, but all the corporations' money. The fact that I call myself the Trojan horse, and I tell like my community, like, push me in, and I walk in looking the way and talking the way I do. I'm like, hey, how you doing, Rob? And then I open the back of the Trojan horse, and all these, like, racially gender diverse folks come running out, and I'm like, let's go do it. And that's how I see my life, is like a Trojan horse.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it brings me great joy. So to bring a narrative into a company that's largely run by white men, and for everyone's benefit, to educate, because nobody really wants to harm people. Nobody wants to be limiting, and also because you're white and straight and male shouldn't be like anything against you. But I think that the more people lean in and understand other groups of people and have empathy and understanding, like, everybody wins.
Yep.
Yeah, there's space for everybody. I always say, like, don't take people away from the table, just add more seats to the table.
I
And
think
that's how I look at
people
it.
just think that power is somehow finite.
Yes, yes.
That somehow, if I have a piece of power, and somebody else wants that, then that
It's a
means I
zero-sum
don't have
game.
any more.
Yeah, exactly,
No,
yes.
it's not zero sum.
No, it's not zero
in the
sum.
least.
No, it's actually infinite. It's infinite if you allow it. It's just like anything. It can be bigger than you can dream of if you allow it to become that. So, yeah,
You said you're a husband.
yeah.
How long have you been married? May I ask?
13 years. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Goodness, congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, we did an impulsive wedding before Prop 8 in California. We thought that we could go convince some Californians to vote for marriage equality. But we went to like San Francisco and Big Sur, and I don't think we convinced anybody. We should have gone to Fresno for our wedding, I think, and we might have convinced somebody. But yeah, it was, and yeah, we're still married.
Well, that's
Happily
amazing.
married, thanks.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How does Michigan State fit into this equation? Who is Rob Smith?
I think well, first of all, my experience here, like I referenced, I was a horrible student.
Yeah.
Horrible. I think I snuck through it with a 2.5 or 2.7.
Nobody's judging in this room.
No, I mean, listen, I'm just going to say, like, there are a lot of things you can get out of this university. And one of them is, like, leadership skills. And I like I said, I was president of fraternity council. I was on senior class council. I was in everything. Like, I spent more time into the offices where all of the organizations are. I forget what that's called. Right across from the library.
The union?
No, not the union. It's right across from the library. It's a building. Anyways, it's the third floor is where the interfraternity council offices were. I spent more time there, like, running the fraternity system than I did, like, in the library. It was just like it was my second home. I was there every single day. And I learned how to, like, lead and be a manager and, get 3,000 people, like, in the fraternity system to think differently. And that's what I walked away from this. Not as much about, like, being a great student and learning in class. I think that's very important, but also how to step into a company and then be a leader right away. How to manage people, how to lead people.
So you leave Michigan State, you go off into the big professional world, you land jobs in some fabulous companies,
Yeah.
Macy's, Levi's,
Nike,
Nike. I mean, the
Victoria's Secret. We still say that's a great company.
I
don't
mean,
know,
my
you tell me.
memory of Victoria's Secret, but
Back then it was great. Well,
back in
it was
the day.
also, like, really fucking weird. We know now,
Yeah,
like,
it's-
yeah. Now
it's all weird,
It's like
right?
peeled back. Like, I saw it from the inside, but now everybody else is kind of getting to see that it was a kind of messed up company.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're making a lot of moves to make it better, but I think very performative in
I
my
think
in my
that
opinion.
actually segues into the question, which is, what surprised you about the professional world as you left Michigan State? What just sort of surprised you in a good way about the professional world? And then following up, dismayed you.
Yeah, I mean, in a good way, my opportunities were endless. I mean, I was moving up so quickly and so fast that, like, people were like, I mean, I was doubling my salary each year. I was moving so fast. I was a vice president at 26. I was the executive vice president at, like, 32 years old. And people hated me. I mean, they admired me, but they also were like, who is this kid? Like, you know, if you're 57 and some 32-year-olds coming in the same, people were like, a lot of people weren't nice to me, but that was okay because I knew who I was, and I was a good manager and really loyal to my team, but had great business, and that was okay. What I thought was really weird was being in meetings, I remember, and doing reviews, and once you get to a certain level, and they were like, yeah, like, you know, Bob like had a okay year, but you know, he's got 4 kids and they're going to go to college pretty soon. I think we should give him a $25,000 raise. And a single woman, they would say, yeah, I mean, she's single. I mean, she's not a high risk. I think she's going to like be here for a while. Let's just give her like 3,000. And just the things, and you go, oh my God, like, how is this possible? Like, how does this really happen? And how can I sit here and just go, wow? And so I had to position myself as a high risk to get more money. Like, that was at a certain point, you're like, just always position yourself as a high risk. And they kept like giving me more money and more money. So I learned how to like watch what was horrible and use it to my benefit.
Playing the game.
Playing the game, yeah. And then it's just like playing the game. So then, yeah, the whole thing is playing the game. You know, figuring out like how to get your job done, be smart, you know, and be recognized. And I think that's also I talk about that being privilege. You know, one of my proudest moments is we launched employee resource groups at Macy's, and there were 5, and one of them was the LGBTQ employee resource group, and I was the only senior executive who was openly queer, and there were very few women. I think there was no people of color, and then one of the employee resource groups was Black and brown women, let's say, and there's an acronym for it. But I'm like, yeah, I want to be oversee, not be in charge, but like be the senior sponsor for that employee resource group. And like, why not LGBTQ? I'm like, I'll be there for them, but I want to be there for this group that has basically no representation. And so every month I would sit in the meetings and show up and listen until one day, about 18 months or 16 months into it, they said, hey, Rob, can we talk to you? I said, sure. And so they got up, closed the door, and they told me what racism looked like in the company, and what microaggressions looked like, what the things that people said. I was like, wow. And I was able to then take that information and go back to human resources and say, we have a problem. Like, if you want to know why turnover is high among Black men, I'm going to tell you why. And part of it was culturally, as a straight passing white man, I was like, hey, look at me, I'm doing a great job. And I wouldn't like had the confidence to like go in and say, I'm doing a great job. And you couldn't, even if I wasn't, I was convincing people I was doing a great job. And other people were sitting there doing a great job and working hard and waiting for someone to come notice them. And I realized there was a cultural difference, that you had to go advocate for yourself. And if you weren't raised that way, who was advocating for you? So nobody. But it was like a huge aha moment. And since then, now I'm applying that to the Phluid and advocating for people who don't have the opportunity to advocate for themselves. So I become an advocate for people whose voices have been silenced for too long, and I get to give them voice.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I get to step away and give the voice. So if you go to Phluid's platform, you're not going to see me ever. You're going to see only Rob when you go to Rob's platform. But Phluid is really giving the community a platform to speak. And it's really fun to let that happen.
I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
So I meandered. I wrote a lot of questions, because if you can't tell, Rob is a pretty amazing human being. One of them was like, first, how do you define inclusion/inclusivity? What does inclusion look like at the community level, and then what does it look like at the corporate level?
I mean, boy, community it's groups of people, and I think one of the problems we have is we're so tribal in our existence. If you go look at groups of people, you're like, oh, there's all this group of people. That you look at tables, and everyone is very tribal in how they spend time together in their community. And so the question is then, how do you integrate communities to create like a broader community to have more power? And I think in companies, it just means being intentional about the people you bring into the room. And I think for so long, it's all of jobs been done by referrals. Like, oh, my fraternity brother is looking for a job, or this kid I went to high school with, and that kept a lot of people out of getting into corporations. And I see corporations now being more intentional about who they hire and how to get different voices in. And we know that the more diverse a company is, the better the results are. So, that's about making communities, sub-communities, and then giving these sub-communities and corporations a voice and opportunity to help the company get better, both internally and externally.
So there's a part of me, I'm a firm exennial, right? I'm in that weird window.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that I'm heartened by every Gen Zer, right? I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a generation that's taking the angst and put it to action, and they're getting it done, right? They're wanting to see change. They're making change happen. And then there's another part of me, it's the exennial cynic, the Xer cynic, as I'll say. And that's like any corporation can take a value and be like, oh, the monetary incentive is to be inclusive, and say we're going to look inclusive, and we're going to do all these things that make us look like we're doing all the good things. Greenwashing is one fabulous way of
pink washing,
right,
rainbow washing.
Right?
Yeah, yep.
So, what does a company that is living true inclusivity, what does that look like versus another company that's like saying it but not doing it?
Yeah, I mean, I get to go. It's one of the great things about my job is not just like making product and shipping it to all these companies, but also going in an educational way. And especially when it comes to gender, there's education, policy, and language that is like the staple. We're just going to educate people, and we're going to change our policy and language. And then there's how do you change culture? And cultural change is deeper work, and that has to be fully committed to. It means you have to go into creating deep understanding and knowledge about underrepresented groups of people. And I like to say, I want to move from allyship to advocacy, or creating accomplices. That means for anyone who's going to support, racially diverse people, it's got to be, people who look like you and I, Caucasian people, who are going to understand deeply. And that means first, I like to say how you become an ally is first you yield, you pause, and you give space. You don't take space up. You actually take space away and give other people space to talk. You listen, and you educate yourself. It's no one's job to educate you other than yourself. And you listen, and then you act. And you go and, as a person of privilege, take your privilege and now your education, and you go advocate on behalf of other people. And so you start to that's how misogyny disappears, that's how racism disappears, that's how homophobia disappears, transphobia. That's how it disappears, is by people of privilege, people in power, and using that in a good way.
Sharing power.
Sharing power, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'm asking you to name names here. So who in the corporate space do you think is doing an incredibly good job of being both authentic and living the vision?
You can't ask me who's doing a bad job. I guess you can.
Not. No,
okay.
I wouldn't dare.
Yeah, good.
I'll totally ask that next.
I think Target's the best.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion, from a retailer, from a person consumer goods, they're the first ones that created gender inclusive fitting rooms. They degender the toy aisles. They have seeing impaired things inside the stores. They have all inclusive gender restrooms. They're doing everything right. And I'm also on their strategy team, so I can say that from the inside they're listening. They actually care. They're so advanced, and I'm also working with other companies that are trying to be like Target. And it's so sad. A good example, I'm not gonna say the retailer, but they asked Phluid to be part of their Pride assortment. And I'm like, great, let's do Phluid. And I gave the assortment and went up the flagpole, and they literally scrubbed out the Q and the T out of LGBTQ. And so it came back down to it's basically the G and the L, and they wanted more of a party stuff. I'm like, well, you came to the wrong place, because, Phluid, Pride is not just a party. Pride is is a time to talk about education and historical references and the underrepresented groups within the queer community, especially Black trans women. If you don't know, the life expectancy of a Black trans female in this country is 35 years old. So just think about that how all the women who are Black and have trans experience, that the life expectancy is 35 years old. That means there's a lot dying in the 20s, and it's the one group of people that I feel like I got across the finish line. You know, I survived HIV. I'm HIV positive. I survived living with it. I have lost friends to it. You know, it got to that finish line, and I have money and success and power and influence. And I look at the Black trans women dying at the age of 35 years old. I'm like, that's until now. They have to live as long as I do. That's my job, is to throw myself in and make sure that part of our community lives as long as we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Sorry, that got me.
Sorry. You make me cry too.
Wow. Sorry.
So I mean, I just take a pause. Like there's a really, for me, there's my personal life, there's my community, there's my professional life, and I get at this moment to like merge it all together, to like mash it together, to take everything I learned for 30 years and create a business, and then create social impact, and then get everyone to try to get on my bus and to join me. And I have so much fun every day. I look at my calendar, I'm like, wow. Like, I'm talking to the CEOs of these companies, I'm talking to like the head of foundation for this company, and I'm talking to and it's just like every day I go to bed and I go, what a crazy effing day. You know, just like being able to like have people listen to me and have people pay me and pay my team, and, you know, just be able to do all this and just keep this machine running and this flywheel going until it gets so big that I can just step back and just let it go.
And you're not doing this alone, right? Like, you should.
Well, I self-funded it myself.
But,
yes.
So yes.
So anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, I can tell you how not to do it. I did it like the most painful way. My story is, if you don't know this, I went to my first Burning Man. Has anybody heard of Burning Man? Yeah. So I went to my first one and came back, and like, it's just this amazing place where, you know, it's like art and music and community and radical inclusion, and there's no money exchange, there's no corporations, it's just gifts, and it's people being nice to each other and loving, and there's like I remember like by day 3, like everybody, like men were walking in like, hey, can you paint my nails? Like, I didn't bring tights, can I wear your tights? Or, you know, like, I want to wear a tutu on Tuesday. And it's just like watching people break free from the constructs we live in, which are so oppressive. And we don't even know how oppressive they are, but they're so oppressive. And that you get to be yourself, and you come back, and there's a saying, don't quit your job after your first Burning Man. So I was like, came back, I'm like, fuck, I can't do this. And I went and quit. So I just went and I gave 5 months notice, and then I decided to go on a journey by myself and travel around the world. And I wanted to learn about literally ancient civilizations and cultures and religions. And so I backpacked, and first I went to Central America. I went to Guatemala, learned about indigenous people. And then I went to South America, and I did a month of ayahuasca. That's where Phluid was born. And then I did India, Nepal, and Tibet. I learned about Buddhism and Hinduism and Sikhism and Islam faith. And then I came back and went to the reservation my great-grandmother was born on, and learned about my indigenous path and history, and all of that kind of was born, and in that the Phluid Project came to me was whispered in my ear by something that I wrote down in a journal, consider opening a gender-free, non-binary shopping environment. I wrote Phluid in quotation marks. And that was April 14, 2017. I opened up March 1st of 2018. I just was so impulsive. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. And I signed a lease on August 1st, and opened up and filled it and created product, and it just was like, I don't know what else to do. And I thought people would be like, yeah, that's amazing, Rob, we're gonna invest in you. And nobody did. Everyone thought I was so dumb. Like, why would you open a retail store? Why would you do this thing that just didn't make any sense to people? And people would come in, and they walk in, and they look around, and like, there's a dress here, and there's makeup there, and there's high heels. Like, how is that gender free? And then you look at the associates, you're like, oh, I see. Because they were like these fantastical unicorns that would roller skate around the store, and they'd just like literally come to work in shorts and a t-shirt, and they'd wear the clothes from the store, and they would look amazing, and then they'd just would like, it was just fun. I mean, I lost like 40 grand a month there, but I had so much fun. It was, yeah.
The most expensive love journey.
It was honestly, if I looked at my long-term plan, I'm like, that was so smart, Rob, because you got visibility and people recognized it. And if I knew that, like, putting that stake in the ground, like, no, I'm going to be the leader in this space, and the space would emerge after, through Gen Z, but also a social justice aspect of it, that all of a sudden companies would go, oh shit, we need to know this, and I mean, it was brilliant if I look back now, but then it was like, I don't know, I'm just doing it because it felt right. And I think that's probably the lesson I tell everyone is if it feels right, do it. If it feels like true to your core, do it.
Run after it.
Run after it.
And I mean, but it also probably took some sacrifice. I mean, losing $40,000 a month on an venture is a sacrifice.
I lost all my money and had a huge debt. And I closed the store on December 31st of 2019. And thank God, I mean, I didn't have it open for another year because
right.
I'd be financially, like, I'd have gone bankrupt personally.
But what did you learn from it? Like, so, because I think there's a nugget in there where failure is not failure. It teaches us lessons if we're willing to learn it.
That's
and
right.
If we listen to it.
That's right.
What did it teach you?
Never to open a store. No, it taught me that, boy, there's so much, I learned so much. I mean,
like, what are the top three things that you're like, okay, so A, don't do a brick and mortar right now. B, I do this. C, like, it could be any lesson.
Don't listen to what everybody else says. That's the biggest lesson I would say is if you think it's right and you're willing to, like, make a gamble, everyone will give you advice and their advice is solid, but if you're doing something new that nobody has ever done before, don't take their advice. Just fucking do it, but be willing to, like, take the risks and to, like, go along with it. But being the first at something is really, I don't know if anyone can ever imagine being the first at something. I mean, it's being, like, doing the first at something when you're, like, and you look at retail, you're like, what's never been done before? And to do something the first, it's kind of a remarkable thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But nobody wants to invest in somebody who does that. Everybody wants to invest in, you're like Lululemon meets Reformation. Like, that's what they want to invest in. Like, they don't ever want to take a gamble.
Anodyne, the same.
Right. You're like, you're this plus this. That's all investors want to hear. You're this plus this. Yeah. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. If you've got a great idea, this plus this, go make money. It's easy. I chose the harder way, but it feels much more, resonates with who I am today.
More authentic.
Yes.
Probably has more longevity.
I think it does. I mean, hopefully, as, like, Gen Zers for the most part, you're going to think about this brand and go, yeah, that's probably like the Urban Outfitters of our generation, hopefully, something like that.
So I think one thing that attracts me to your story is the challenging of the construct, right? The sort of iconoclasm. What I'm curious is, how long do you think it will be before we see in brick and mortars or in retail shops that they're taking down the menswear, they're taking down the women's athleisure wear?
Yeah. They're doing it right now. I mean, the companies I work with, they're doing the quick wins. Like, they're taking down women's off of dresses and just making dresses. They're taking Sephora, took out men's fragrances and took the men's out, and women's fragrances took women's out, and men's cologne and took out men's. And they're, like, trying to make those small changes. But, and it is about, retail certainly, but it's, for me, it's retail and it's deconstructing the retail, but it's also deconstructing the entire notion of societal expectation around gender in general. I think that if you think about men in general, how men are socialized and what men can do and not do as boys to men, and that there's a higher rate of suicide with men because how we raise boys. And how we raise girls, there's higher, eating disorders, and there's a higher rate of that. And so if you think about it, how do you raise a young human without shoving centuries of shit on top of them to say, this is how you can be and not be, and just let them be and let them grow up to be beautiful humans that they are. So I don't just want to sell clothes or educate companies. I want to deconstruct the idea of what it is supposed to be a male or female. And but there's every construct, everything is a construct. Race is a construct, gender is a construct, politics are constructs, sexual orientation is a construct. They're all constructs, and that once you get put in a box, you don't have to think anymore. Religion's a construct. And that once you stick your head out and look around and go, maybe there's something more, something I haven't fully experienced. And that's my mission, is to deconstruct spaces and allow people to find the space between. Now, you might go back to your box and say, I really like it back there, but I want people to have an opportunity to be curious and interested. There you go. That's
I'm reeling with all these amazing answers. Do any of you have questions?
Does that resonate with anybody? Does it?
Don't be afraid. Don't be shy.
Okay.
Look,
some people don't like it at all. They're like, don't mess with the constructs. I'm comfortable, and I think that's why the mission statement is Phluid, is to challenge boundaries with humanity. I want to challenge everything. I think everyone should have their existence and worship who you want to worship and love who you want to love and be who you want to be and let people be that. But also, have empathy. And sometimes the only way to have empathy is to put yourself in a situation and understand other people. And that's maybe what we don't do enough, of, is just exploring and sitting with other people and just listening. And that's kind of like I'm going on a speaking tour, and especially these 2 days here, but I'm actually as much on a listening tour. I'm here talking to you, but I've been listening to people today and tomorrow, and just, I think we can learn a lot more when we listen.
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Question.
Cross-culturally, are you experiencing different, as your company experienced different attention from different cultures based on whatever they were more attracted to the brand by? Or specifically, has specific cultures veered away demographic-wise from your company based off of whatever society, or in general, assumed society?
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I think so. When you look at Phluid, you know what Phluid's about. I think people think this is a quick win. Let's align with Phluid. And I'm like, well, it's not that easy, And I like to go through a company's Instagram. And I'm like, first of all, you have nothing but skinny, beautiful white people, which is cool, but it's also, that's not who I want to be aligned with. So we can work together, and it can help you be more diverse in many ways, and more reflective of the communities that you serve, or you don't care. Honestly, if some companies are I'm treating a Turk, whatever, I'm totally down with just wealthy white women, and that's fine. That's your brand. But other brands, I think, have a broader scope of customers and employees, and want to be better. At least the people that I talk to. And I talk to DEIB, diversity, equity, and belonging people. So they tend to be they tend to care more than maybe the board does, board of directors. But the people I talk to really, they want to be in the right side of history. They want to do the right stuff. They want to impact culture in their company because that's their job. But those are the geeks I like hanging out with. Yeah.
I was wondering if you have any book or podcast recommendations. I always like to write them down.
That's great. Well, first of all, after we do our training sessions, we give out follow-ups, and one of my favorite things to ask people to do is to watch the movie Disclosure. It's a documentary about the trans experience, and when you watch it, and all these references you've seen in movies already, but if anyone wonders why transphobia exists in the country, just watch Disclosure, because anyone with trans experience is either a serial murderer, the punching the joke that like, you know, I think, what is it, Ace Ventura is like vomiting when genitalia is revealed, or it's or they're just a tragic, you know, mess of a person. So that's a great movie. And then there's also, I love the Marsha P. Johnson documentary, and it's just, you know, Stonewall, which was the beginning of the, you know, queer liberation, and was led by Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, who are Black and brown trans women. So, and then, of course, like the white gay men came in and made it gay liberation and took over the entire movement and made it all about us, because that's what we do. And now it's about education, about our historical references of Black and brown trans women, and lifting them back up again. But yeah, the liberation wouldn't have started without you know, Black and brown trans women. And I have so much respect for the community, especially. And that's, if you look at the Phluid team and largely who it is, you know, I'm the only, I think, cis white guy in the team. It's like everyone else is, it brings a different point of view. And I'm not going anywhere, so this stuck with me because I'm the owner. So it's like you're around me, basically. Yeah, but it's fun.
What do you learn on a daily basis? Like, because I'm thinking, like, you're sitting in a room with these amazing human beings. Like, what kind of shocks the heck out of you?
I'm learning empathy, because how people have to navigate a day, you know, getting home. Like, I would do nothing but get Ubers for everybody, because I knew that getting home for them on a subway or a bus meant that their life was in danger. And how to navigate through being a person of color, a person who is gender variant, a person, like how you navigate. And I realize how easy life is for me every day. I get up and I get to do what I do because I'm in this body, I'm able-bodied, I'm white, I'm, you know, classic, like American looking, and I get what I want. You know, if I go and say, I want this for free, they'll give it to me for free. Like, there's so much that I have, and I learned about how other people navigate through life. I'm like, damn, I have so much respect for them. And yeah.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
I was just wondering your opinion on trans men and women competing in sports, because I know there was a Penn State swimmer that set like.
Yeah, Leah Thomas. Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm going to start off first with young people, because sports are really important to many people. And, you know, when you're young, I mean, I know you think you're competing for your life, but when you're 10 years old, when you're 15, I mean, honestly, like, unless you're Michael Phelps, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, you're not going to go play pro. You're not going to, it's just, you can be competitive, and competition's great, but to keep young people out of sports is just cruel to me. It's flat out cruel. Now, when you get to like a college level or professional level or Olympian level, you start to look and say, okay, so is there an advantage, especially if you're born male and you compete as female? I think that, you know, what you start doing when you start to transition is start to take hormone blockers and estrogen. Estrogen depletes your body muscle by 20%. So you're starting, the first thing you're doing is depleting your muscles. Now you start to, like, I think Leah's anomaly, unfortunately, got a lot of attention. I think that probably the best thing that could happen to women's sports is more trans women participate, because nobody talked about women's sports until Leah started participating. And if anybody can tell me who was in the Final Four in the NCAA basketball tournament, I'll give you $100. Everybody can tell me.
UConn, South Carolina. Instead of going Stanford, Baylor? No. Kansas.
Who was the Final Four for men's? Anybody know?
Duke, UNC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I mean, like, as a person who's like kind of like likes to look at things differently, I would, if I was a female competitor, I would have a trans woman on every team, because all of a sudden people would start showing up and paying attention. And once advertisers started advertising, all of a sudden women's compensation as athletes would go from 10% of men to getting closer to equal. So I would think, wow, let's take this and bring trans women into sports and let them compete and let people start paying attention to women's sports, because it's about time. If that's what it takes for people to pay attention to women's sports, that's fucking awesome. So I also don't know if you can find this person, I'd love to know. If you're male and you transition to female and you do it just to win a trophy or to compete in sports, I mean, go for it. Like, you deserve a trophy, and I'll give it to you myself. And I also understand that there's other women who feel like they train hard and this is going to get taken away from them. I don't see that happening to a large degree at all. I think it comes down to like such a small number. Utah, the governor in Utah, it's such an interesting topic because like vetoed the bill, and their feeling was, okay, so if this bill doesn't go through, what's going to happen is just like what's happening in California, like Don't Say Gay, it's really teeing up an entire network of attorneys who are going to sue and countersue and sue and countersue. And what's going to happen is the school systems are going to pay for it. Sports leagues are going to disappear because of this. So in Utah, it's 4 trans athletes who are youth. One of them was trans feminine. And he's like, I'm not going to sacrifice my entire sports program, over one girl wanting to play sports. So it's one of those topics that can distract all of us because it's so fascinating, but it's also so, it's just mean and cruel to me to not let people participate in sports. That's how I feel about it. Listen, I mean, if I was a female competitor and I was in a race against Leah and I didn't get the first place, I might feel differently. But honestly, I think there's so many other bigger issues to talk about. But it is like interesting as hell to talk about. Yeah. But I do think that Utah, like what the governor said was so true. Like, I'm not going to let attorneys take down our sports, and everyone loses then in that way. Anyway, a long answer to a great question, sorry. I'm super passionate about it because I look at it from a different angle, and I think like, wow, this could actually really benefit women's sports. Yes?
I was wondering if there's any opportunities for like students or early stage startups or nonprofit to be like Phluid Project certified, or is that just like to like corporations?
I mean, well, first of all, like I set up Get Phluid to certify companies. So my idea was like I was going to get all of these professionals who are trans identified, and then once a company got certified, I was going to give access to like. But I realized that's way too slow. It's going to get people into the workforce, so I stopped that. But I'm working on Get Phluid certification and starting that process, kind of like a good housekeeping seal approval, like one step ahead of HRC. But there is NGLCC, which is the National Gay Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, which is a great organization to be certified by. And yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, go ahead.
Back to the sport question.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
Are you saying that you think that more I play on the soccer team here at Michigan State.
Awesome.
So I am obviously a female competitor.
Yep.
Are you saying that you think that more crowds and more fans would come to the games if like we had a transgender female on our team?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's unfortunate, but I think that, look how many people flew to watch Leah compete. People travel from around the world, to watch Leah compete. And I honestly think Leah is a physical anomaly in this whole thing. But it is fascinating. But I do think more people would show up. I think there would be people showing up to like almost like a circus show to see what a trans female competitor looks like and how other women would compete with her. And I think there's a I think it's just a curiosity by people. I think that people have an idea of what a trans feminine athlete looks like. And it's really hard for me because there's organizations like Gender Cool who are young people and they're trying to normalize with their families the trans experience. And I see like these amazing women, young girls who look like, your sister or my nieces. And they just want to play lacrosse. They want to play soccer. They want to hang out with their friends. And to keep them, I do think that, yeah. So that I think there's youth, and I think each, each university's like league needs to decide what they want to do about it. And I think it's going to come down to what's the Big Ten want to do about it, what's the SEC, and honestly, I don't want to get in that conversation because that's like, that's out of my jurisdiction. I think that there's smart people in charge of, the SEC and the ACC and the Big Ten, and I'm going to let them figure it out, but I put my emphasis on youth because to me it's like that's clear, that's straight up.
Great question.
What do you think? Can I ask you?
Yeah, wait, what's the question?
What do you think about trans feminine folks participating in competitive sports at a collegiate level?
I'm like obviously not like against it or anything like that. I'm completely open to it, but like
That's not obvious. It doesn't have to be obvious. I mean, yeah.
Well, being like a female in sport, like obviously the fairness between like women's sport and men's sport, like you said, like name the sport, like obviously no one knows like the final four for women's basketball, and like seeing like the unfair treatment between women's sport and men's sport is a huge common theme, and like I've competed against men's like athletes and female athlete, and like it is harder to compete against male athletes.
Yep.
So I just feel like if they were to have an advantage, that would be like somewhere where I would be like, okay, we have to like talk about it more.
Right.
And that's where I would like want to have a conversation about it.
Yep.
But I wouldn't be against it or anything like that. So I would just want to have a conversation about how much it would impact the team and like the atmosphere and all that. But yeah, I guess if it's in like youth, I agree with you. Like it shouldn't be a problem at all.
Right.
But at the collegiate level, the Olympic level, in a bigger grand scheme of things, like the impacts that it would be making. Because again, when you're at a younger age, like it's not a big deal. But like I'm like, in high school everyone looks the same. But when you're coming to college, like you're picturing these big football guys walking in, and then like like they're bigger guys. So like just like competing against a big guy is a lot different than competing against a smaller girl. So I think it's just the difference that you have to see.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for your open mind too. This is a good conversation.
This is amazing.
I literally can sit at a bar for 5 hours talking about this topic, and like once I go, people are like, "What do you think about this? What do you think about this?" So I have like worked up my skills just by having cocktails and people like thinking like, well, like of all this stuff, like this is the one that people like. It's like restrooms, it gets people like, and so I'll talk about restrooms just if anybody cares. Who gets attacked in restrooms? People with trans experience get attacked in restrooms. It's not the other way around. It's like, who gets attacked are a trans female or trans male. That's who gets attacked in restrooms. And I don't know. I've had a gender neutral restroom my whole life with my sisters. So I only know like, one way to be, which is just close the door and go to the bathroom to do your business. Honestly, like nobody's peeking under. And
Rob, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For such a wonderful conversation. Everyone, thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah.
I am getting the wrap it up, Aaron.
Okay.
I apologize, but this has been an amazing conversation. And I hope you come back. Like one day.
Of course I'll come back if I get invited back. I have to get invited back.
Chris, put it down on the calendar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Hatchcast is supported by Spartan Pride. Spartan Pride is the first LGBTQ plus Broad registered student organization focused on the support and development of undergraduate and graduate students. Spartan Pride provides networking opportunities, promotes a safe and supportive environment, and facilitates professional development focused on LGBTQ plus representation and awareness. Find out more at broadspartanpride.com. Hatchcast is an ongoing collaborative project.
This podcast was co-created by
Aaron Richard, Tyler Mihai, and Kurt Krieger,
and is produced by and under the supervision of
the Burgess Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation
at Michigan State University.
William Rowan, Gabe Hales,
and Diego Fernandez, our sound engineers and editors.
Our co-producers and co-hosts include
Gabe Hales,
Diego Fernandez,
Karina Stankowski,
Gabe Burke, Danielle Tice,
Charlotte Batchelor,
William Rowan,
and Aaron Richard.
Original sound is created by Kakia Gaudina and
Karina Stankowski.
If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out at hatchcast@msu.edu.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening.